looking at foods that research is pointing to as preventing cancer in the last couple of videos, and today I just feel we should also look at foods that research is pointing to as causing cancer. So that's what we're doing today. My name is Angela and I share information on how to use food as medicine, having gone through an aggressive stage 3 cancer in 2016. If you want to just learn a bit more about how to use nutrition as medicine and also improve your nutrition IQ, click on the subscribe button, the notification bell, and also share these videos with your loved ones. It could save your life. A lot of information, well researched, and a lot of times I think if I knew what I know now, I probably wouldn't have had to go through that journey. Also, the statistics are not encouraging at all. About 7 million people waiting up to 2 months to commence treatment. Now, I think about myself. Once the biopsy results were out, the doctor called me in immediately and said, normally we give a week to prepare for chemo and the psychological impact and all of that, prepare you. But we haven't got a week. We have to start tomorrow. We'll do all of that talk today and we'll start tomorrow. So putting that into perspective, thinking of someone that probably is in similar situation and is having to wait 2 months, that can be the difference between life and death. So we don't need to protect ourselves. I don't mean to scare anyone, just those are the actual figure, the reality of our times. Cancer has become an epidemic, and really the hospitals, what they're doing is just treating the symptom. So somebody goes in, they treat the cancer with chemo or radiotherapy or whatever else, and you're sent home. They're doing a good job. If not for that, I probably won't be here today. But I believe we need a holistic approach to cancer. We need to actually do a lot more to prevent it from happening. And even when it happens, there's a lot more than the treatment. So we just need to know how to support what the doctors are doing. So research is pointing to these foods I'm going to talk about as top foods that cause cancer, and I've looked at them in just categories, a long list as well, but we're just going to look at the categories and maybe in due course drill into specific foods. So the first food I want to talk about are refined sugar. Any food containing refined sugar really is not good for us. So for a can of Coke, it's 10 cubes of sugar. And 10 cubes of sugar is too much to take at once. Our body can't handle that amount of sugar. So it's causing damage. We can easily drink a can of Coke without thinking twice about it, but we won't sit down and consume 10 cubes of sugar by itself. But that's what we're doing because it's masqueraded in this color and this flavor and carbonated water. Would usually consume a can of Coke, 2 cans, maybe even more during the course of a day or at a party without actually thinking about the sugar content and how much of that we're putting in our body and the damage it's causing to our body as well. So I'm guilty as well. I used to love my Coke. It's still a journey I'm walking. So the whole idea is cut down with a view of cutting out completely. And the rule of thumb is, so 4 grams of sugar is equivalent to a teaspoon of sugar. So if you want to understand the quantity in terms of reading labels, that's a quick way to just understand how much. Because a lot of the time we see 20 grams, 10 grams, and we think, oh, that's okay. 10 grams is actually 2.5 spoons, and that might be in soup. It's not just the sodas we have to worry about. It is the chocolates, the cake, the sweets, the donuts, the pizzas, the tomato sauces, prepacked food. Just it's best to read the label, because even foods that we don't expect to find sugar these days are laced with sugar to appease our taste buds. So we do need to read the label and understand the content of the foods we're buying. Sugary foods, refined sugar, and in this category, some people might ask, okay, if you're talking about soda, how about diet soda? Research is showing is actually worse, does more damage than the regular soda. So if you must, stick with the regular soda, because diet soda contains aspartame, and aspartame has been found to harm one of our health defenses, our microbiome. Our microbiome, they are gut bacteria. It's an ecosystem of bacteria. I think about 37 trillion, they say. We need to maintain that ecosystem, and whatever we eat either builds it up or brings it down. Our body in its entirety is a system We either build it up with our nutrition and lifestyle, or we bring it down. So we do need to be mindful of adding sugar to foods. There are healthy natural alternatives we can use, like dates, maple syrup, monk fruit, pure honey. GMO stands for genetically modified organism, and it is where a seed or an organism has been taken to the lab, altered artificially to achieve a purpose. Maybe to make it could be to make it bigger, to make it look more beautiful, or without blemish, and sweeter. This, for example, is an orange. Growing up in Africa, this is not what an orange looks like, and I believe this is genetically modified. An orange is greenish and yellow in its ripe state, but this is a lot sweeter as well than the orange you find in organic oranges, and this means it's been altered. So research is pointing to the fact that these foods are linked to cancer, and also, apart from just altering it, organic foods have a substance called oxalic acid. So when foods are allowed to grow naturally and fend for itself, no pesticides added, these foods produce more of an acid called oxalic acid, and this acid protects it from pesticides and insects and all of that from the environment. And when we consume the organic food that has been left alone, we get more of that oxalic acid, and science is showing that oxalic acid is very beneficial for us. It is anti-carcinogenic, antioxidant, and anti-inflammatory. So we get this benefit, we get more of this from organic foods, and we get all of those benefits from those fruits when we consume them in that organic state. On top of that, the organic food has pesticide, but a lot of people think it's just because of the pesticides that we move towards organic. Not really. It's again the content of the organic food. It has more to offer. It builds up our body and health defenses. So that's GMO foods. And then pesticides that are sprayed in foods are also linked to cancer. So we need to, where we can find organic, wash our fruits and vegetables thoroughly before we consume. I'm going to leave a list of the dirty dozen down below in the description section. So there are a list of 12 foods that are really known and notorious for containing the most pesticides. So when you're purchasing and consuming these foods, ensure that you wash thoroughly with vinegar, salt and water, warm water, and just ensure that it's really clean, because they are notorious for containing a lot of pesticides. And another thing is fruits that you have to peel are sort of okay, because you're not eating the outer layer which has been sprayed. But when you're eating the skin of that fruit as well, you really need to wash carefully if it's not organic. Like an apple, peaches, nectarine, all of them really sprayed with pesticides, and you need to wash properly. Let's look at processed meats. So processed meats are meat that have been processed in the factory, and additives added, like the sausages, the bacon, the pepperoni, the ham. All of those foods are processed. In the olden days, these meats were made with natural salts, natural preservatives, so they weren't causing as much harm. Now they're being processed in factories to meet demand. The World Health Organization has actually listed these processed meats as carcinogenic and cancer causing. The recommendation is to minimize the intake of these processed meats, reduce consumption to maximum once a week. So along with this list is the processed poultry, chicken, turkey, smoked foods, and also barbecued food. You need to ensure your meat doesn't burn when you have your barbecue. What is science saying about red beef? A lot of people ask about red beef, if it causes cancer. Yes, there's research pointing to the fact that excessive consumption of red meat is linked to higher risk of colon cancer. However, it is the type of meat. So most of these meats they've used in researches are the processed meat, and also the meat we find in this part of the world. The meat that are not grass-fed, they're confined and fed antibiotics. This is how we are blessed in Africa again, because most of our cows graze openly, even though in Nigeria these days, unfortunately, they graze on people's farm and eat people's farm produce, yam, corn and all, but really they graze openly, and they're the best sort of meat. And if you're having such a beef, it's okay. Once in a week again, moderation is key. Normal grass-fed beef is okay, taken in moderation. The processed beef fed steroids and all of that, I would avoid if I can, or also limit that to once a week. So on this list, that fried foods are really damaging to our health, linked to obesity. Obesity itself doesn't really cause cancer, but whatever is the root cause of that obesity is also a root cause of cancer, and it's usually the sugary foods, the fatty foods, deep fried foods. And one thing I want to say about deep fried foods is not just the fat from the frying of the food. A lot of oils have smoking points, so when you want to fry something, you allow the oil to smoke before you put the food. That process of smoking that oil actually makes it poisonous. It becomes carcinogenic, and when you fry the food in it, the food absorbs that poison, and when we consume it, it also affects our health. Restaurants use deep fryers mostly, and the same oil is repeatedly used over and over. It's not changed. That means it smokes every time it's used to fry food, and that food is contaminated with the carcinogens from the frying of the oil. So this is one of the risks of eating deep fried food. So deep fried foods are a problem, causing a lot of trouble, and including overweight and other diseases as well. This won't be complete without a mention of tobacco and alcohol. There's a lot of research and science pointing to the fact that excessive intake of alcohol is linked to cancer as well as smoking. Smokers have a higher risk of lung cancer, 22% increase in that chance of having lung cancer. So we do really need to eliminate smoking from our life. Habits that I know is hard to fight, but where you can, just be aware that this is exposing you and people around you actually as well. Secondhand smoke is equally as bad. So it's causing a lot of problems, not just lung cancer, stomach cancer, liver cancer, and a lot of other cancers linked to smoking. Heavy drinking as well is linked to liver cancer, lung cancer, mouth cancer, colon cancer, and a lot of other cancers. So the recommendation is once a week. Red wine is good. The skin of the grapes used for the red wine is good, has cancer fighting property, but the recommendation is once a week for ladies, and maybe 2 to 3 servings of red wine for men. Well, eat the grape directly as well as an option. So when you're signing up for a life cover, if you ever wonder why they ask you on your application, are you a smoker or a drinker? How often do you do it? It is because automatically it's going to calculate a higher premium for you. You're going to pay more because they know that person is going to be of a higher risk of coming down with disease. Also, processed foods, like foods that have been prepared and packaged with labeling, tinned food, a lot of these are causing a lot of health problem and cancer for us today. The food packaging, when you go through, they can always read the label, and once you can't pronounce or you don't understand what that ingredient is on that list, it's most likely an ultra processed food, and these foods have been prepared with oils most of the time, very high temperature, preservatives, and research is showing that these foods actually are linked to cancer. So we need to cut down those foods with a view of cutting them out as well. So these are just categories of food that I wanted to talk about quickly. There is a long list, but at least we understand the different groups of food that are doing us harm. It's no news, but it's good that we see that there's research actually pointing to these foods. And I think for me, a lot of this food, I was able to just take a step back once I knew the sort of damage it was doing to my body. So thank you for watching. Do share this video with someone you think it might benefit, and also the subscribe button if you haven't yet, the notification bell, and leave your comment, and also like this video. Thank you so much, and see you in my next.